In this video, we're going to go through and demonstrate how to do a patient daily note or a session note. So the idea with this is someone has been to the clinic already, you've done your initial exam, initial eval, and now you're going back and you're doing a treatment note. So what you do, and you see we have our patient Mike Marquette again that we did our eval on. You can see that we had an initial visit back on the 15th. So that's what we first wanted to see what happened on the 15th. We can click this button and we can see here's the note. We can go back and see everything that was done, social history, all this sort of stuff. We can see the exercises, see who saw the patient, work our way down. We see the goals, the plan, etc., and do it that way. Okay, so we can always go back and look that way and see what happened. The other thing we can do is we can quickly, from the summary tab, look at the patient history. So we can flip through here and say, okay, there's his medical history, anything along that lines, and find this more background information that's going on with the patient. I mentioned before in the other video vitals, so we can go through the vitals and see what the previous results were. So we can see, okay, his height was this, his weight was this, his BMI was this, back on this date. If we're working on like blood pressure or we're thinking about weight loss, this is a nice way to track it. It's all in one location. May not be the most appropriate for our clinic and how often we see patients, but you can see a running tab of that information. So as we're ready to do our note, we can first go to the history, and as I mentioned in the first video, what happens is the history gets pulled into every single note. So if I go into here, you see everything I checked last time is right there. Okay, so let's say I found out some other information. I didn't have his work status, but now I talk to him, I find out, actually he's unemployed, just lost his job. That goes up there. I hit save, and now that's part of the history. It's added to the history what's going on for the patient. So in my follow-up sessions, I can go back and add things in. But if I just want to acknowledge that, yes, I reviewed the history, I want documentation that I reviewed it, I can just click this box, and then on the note it will indicate that yes, I actually reviewed the history. Now we go into the assessment. The assessment, it's very, very, very important that we actually change the template. The default is to have eval for those of you in the rehab clinic. What we need to do is go down here and choose therapy note. Okay, so the therapy note, a couple of different ways we can do this. Number one, if we're just doing a single profession note, let's say you just want to write a note that's just for PT. We can go in here, we can type in physical therapy, and we can say a treatment note. And we can fill in our time. And we just go in and we do our normal note. We put everything in here. So just as we normally would. And you'll see we have the different categories from objective, treatment member, assessment, all these things within the therapy note themselves. Okay, so that's the one way to do it, where we just do a note by ourselves. Maybe it's only one profession seeing the patient, or maybe we're in a situation where we want to do really separate notes. We want to have a PT note and an OT note and keep them separate. The other option is to do a joint note together, just like we did our initial exam. So in that situation, we would not have a profession listed there. Instead, we just titled a treatment note. We put our times in like normal. We would put some subjective information in. So you can see I've typed in some subjective information from the patient about how he reports, what he brings into, and then we go to the objective. And so again, we're assuming how I'm doing this note for you now is that the PT, the OT, the speech, social work, etc. would all do the same note together, okay, on the same note. So you can see I've already typed in some of the information when I wasn't recording. I typed in the information, and I could go, and we did the same thing we did for the initial exam where we're listing the student and the supervising therapist or a licensed professional. Did the same thing for occupational therapy. We could keep going and adding these other boxes if we wanted to. We get down to treatment rendered. We're going to skip that. Again, we're going to hit save as we routinely save things. Assessment. This is where we go through and do the assessment of session. So how did it go overall? Some of that could be put in the individual discipline specific notes, or it could be listed here. So again, I've typed in some things that might go into a patient daily note. We can come down to the plan, and the plan might be continue clinic care, This is helpful to go in a little bit more detail within our clinic, especially when there's going to be a change of session. So you might have a team, been working with a patient for 3 or 4 weeks, and next week we start a new team of students. It's important to give that team of students very clear expectations or guidance on where this patient should go next session. Of course, I'll do a little bit of probably a mini eval after reviewing your notes, but it's also good to give them specifics of what they should be working on. And you can see I just put an example on what you might do. Go to faculty, staff, student sign off, and just like we did with a note before, and I think we would put that information from above down here in a summary. We would save it, of course, as we go. We can go to exams, and just like we had in the initial exam, there is this flow chart, and I referenced that in my notes. So I'm not going to do this because I think you probably figure that out, or I can quickly do it. We could put our exercises here. We can work on the single leg stance, and maybe we did 5 reps of 30 seconds. Left foot better than right. Any kind of documentation we might want to do. Of course, you can hit save, and that goes up into the note. Goals, this is important. These are the goals. Now, I mentioned before that the history gets pulled into every note. So do the goals. But again, we need to hit goals, the drop-down menu like that. You'll see our goals are right here. So we can go through here and look at the Berg. We didn't reassess this necessarily, so we can just leave it blank, or we could put progressing. And I don't think I mentioned this as being, met in the note, but let's say it was met. Okay, let's say my documentation shows that it met. I can change that to met. If I wanted to add a new goal, patient will be able to carry 2 grocery bags up the stairs. Maintaining balance, and that's a new goal. Okay, that'll go into the note as we go. Vitals again, if we're measuring someone's vitals as we want, let's say we did their blood pressure again, and we could document this. And the nice thing again is that it will be in the patient's chart in that table on the front page as we go. Just like before, we go to SOAP note, and this is going to pull everything together again for us. We need to hit the drop-down menu, interprofessional therapy. We should just go to therapy note, actually, is where we want to go, to the therapy note. This again pulls everything into the note, as you see, the patient information, the subjective. We can reread this if we want to, get information from there. If we're all okay with this, we hit save. So it's all saved. And remember, if we remember the tip we showed you before, let's say we go back and we say, oh gosh, we forgot to document that we did something with physical therapy. And we go back, we type the information, and as you see, I just added this information into the note. I can go hit save again. If you notice the trend, hit save, go to your SOAP note and say, oh gosh, it's not there, where'd it go? Remember, you can hit this button right there. That will populate it, it pulls it back down, and we're set. So again, we want to hit save the note. It's going to say, oh, does a note already exist? That's fine. We're overriding the last note we saved with this new information. We can come in here, hit our pin, hit save. It's final, right? So it's been saved. If you're a student, you would have picked a faculty member for that note to go to. At this point, you can hit print. Okay, so you're going to print out the note. You're going to take it down to the printer in the main, in the check-in area. We now have the note, as you see. We're going to take it, we'll print it off, and then we have the ability for everyone to sign off on the note and put it in the patient's chart. So this summarizes how to do a patient note, like a daily note. So again, we see the notes right here. Once we log back in, that note would be right there. We just saved it, and it usually takes a little bit of time for that to actually be hyperlinked for us to see the actual note that it's there. So this is how to do the daily note or the progress note. The next video you'll watch is some problem solving issues, what to do when you run into some problems.